चल हम्म, hello, is I'm audible? Hello. We'll just wait for one more minute. We'll- So we'll start now. Welcome everyone. Good evening. So today we'll discuss tax proposal of budget 2021. We request everyone to subscribe to our YouTube channel Tax Acharya to get latest tax updates, videos, and to get the link of the YouTube channel, you can send me the WhatsApp message at 90089448082. We will go you through the rules of the webinar, which is that please switch off your video and mute the audio. The duration of the webinar will be 40 minutes. To get the copy of the today presentation, please send us a WhatsApp message at 90089448082 with your name and email ID and type your questions at the comment with, and we will try to answer at the end of the session. Now, we will first start with direct tax proposals. Here, Assam, without making any changes in the tax rate, they have provided relief to senior citizens in filing of ID returns, reduce the time limit of income tax proceedings, announce the setting up of dispute resolution committee and faceless income tax appellate tribunal proceedings, provided relaxations for NRI and offered an increase in the exemption limit from audit and accounted for relief for dividend income. Now, let us go one by one of the clause. We will discuss few important points which have impact in your routine business activity. The first important is the interest on PPF and EPF. Now, employee is required to contribute every month to his EPF account. And if the annual contribution exceeds 2.5 lakh, then on the actually increased amount, whatever you are getting interest now become taxable. In future, I'll provide you how to compute interest on which tax will come, but this will increase the tax liability for number of employees and reduce their take-home salary. The next is in respect of reduction in time for income tax proceedings. They have reduced the time limit for income tax proceedings. And in one of that is belated return and revised return. So practically now you don't have any so much of time to file your belated return or revised return. If you see companies who are doing tax audit or who are in transfer pricing, they're required to file their return by October of every year. And you see the time limit of now belated return and revised return, it is after 2 months only, which is December 31st. So practically now there is no use of this section. If the government wants, they can remove the belated return concept and revised return concept. In this slide, I would like to focus only on faceless income tax tribunal. The concept of faceless is good, but how this is going practically now is being a concern. Now your assessment is faceless, your CRT appeal is faceless, and if your IITT also becomes faceless, and if you are not able to explain your facts in English, in writing, then 100% you will not get relief at any level. So at least when face was there, you go there, you try to explain, you try to convince, you get all the facts, but now that also become very difficult. In this, I would like to discuss about rationalization of unit-linked insurance plan. So ULIP was earlier a tax-free instrument because it says like an insurance, and now they come with that. In the case your ULIP premium is more than 2.5 lakh, then you have to offer your receipt as a capital gain. Here, the tax planning could be that you can change your ULIP plan and split with number of companies where your premium will be 20,000 per month or less than 2.5 lakh per year. So in the case you have more ULIP policies, even though you are getting ULIP benefit, you can avoid this capital gain tax. Now, I would like to focus on this point, timely deposit of employee contribution to labor welfare fund by due date. So, any employee welfare have two parts, employer and employee. And if employer contribution, which we don't pay, it is with before filing return of income, it will be disallowed under section 43B. And now, if employee contribution we don't pay on time, then it will be disallowed forever. So all companies are required to take care that whatever contribution they are receiving from their employees, they should pay to the government on time. Otherwise, a big chunk of disallowance will come. Non-filing of return by deductee collectee. I want to take some time to discuss this point. The government is saying that when your vendors are not provided PAN, you deduct 20%. Fine. which is fine. So if vendor has not provided PAN, I can deduct 20%. And if vendor provided PAN, then I have to follow normal rate 194 C, J, I, and 194 now dividend also TDS is there. So accordingly, I'm doing that. Now they are saying that you have to go and check that they have filed their tax return for last 2 years. And in the case they have not filed their tax return for last 2 years, then you have to deduct twice the rate or 5%, whichever is higher. They have not provided us that every year. How can I verify whether my vendor has filed tax return or not? Whether tax return which contains personal information required to be shared to all my customers who require to deduct TDS. And what will happen if somebody in today's computer world gives some crafted document? Whose responsibility that in the case there is a fraud deduction? Because the problem is that if there is a fraud deduction, that first of all, you have section 40 AI, your 30% of expense will be disallowed, and then you become defaulter under section 201, which attract tax, interest, penalty, and prosecution. So all these things are there. So for none of my fault, now I become liable. And if you see dividend, where big companies are there who are listed organizations, where shareholders are changing every day. Their shareholders are changing every day. So in that case, what will happen? You disclose your suppose dividend on October 20 record date, and you have to declare the dividend in next 10 days. You have the list of shareholder. Now, how it is practically possible to verify that whether your shareholder or on that record date had filed their tax return or not? And in the case there is a default, then company is liable. They become defaulter under section 201. Government should reconsider this provision. It has become too hard, too impractical to follow this section, according to me. Now I come to the next point. Levy of TDS on purchase of goods. Last year, government come with a draconian provision of TCS on purchase of goods. And the condition is that in the case you are selling something more than 50 lakh to a person, you should collect TCS at the rate of 0.1%. Companies don't know how to implement this, how to check that 50 lakh limit. So they given a blanket, all companies given a blanket kind of thing that to whomever, whichever who is my customer, if they are in the B2B segment, whoever is a customer, collect TCS. If you want goods, you have to along with the GST, you have to pay TCS at the rate of 1%, 0.1%. You don't have choice. So there are a lot of B2B. This is the way they have implemented the system. Now, this year government got further one more step. They have applied TDS. So on goods. So when somebody is purchasing goods more than 50 lakh from a vendor, now he is to deduct TDS at the rate of 0.1%. And this TDS will overrule TCS. So suppose what first we have to check whether TDS is applicable or TCS is applicable. And if both is applicable, then TDS will prevail. So there may be a situation. I'm a big company purchasing more than 50 lakh. My vendor also a big company selling more than 50 lakh. Now both TDS and TCS are applicable. Now my vendor may say that my system doesn't allow. You have to, I don't know. You have to pay me TCS. And at the same time, I say I have to deduct TDS. So all these practical problems will come. In this chart, I tried to give the scenario of section 194Q on what, in which case TDS is applicable, in which case TCS is applicable, and in which case TDS will overrule TCS. So just have a look on this. You can have an understanding that it is again creating a lot of confusion in the market when you will go to purchase and sell your goods. Now, when AFM announced that exemption from filing IT return to Cygnus region, so at least Cygnus region was happy. But when I read the law, what I found that senior citizen who are having only interest income or pension income, they have go to the bank, they have to inform bank, this is the income I'm going to have, pension income, this is the interest income I'm going to have, deduct all the tax. So I may be 20% slab, even though I'm senior citizen, I may be in 30% slab. So whatever chapter 6 deduction, after giving chapter all 6 deduction, and accordingly compute my tax, and based on the tax, now bank will collect or deduct all TDS from my interest income, and in that case, I'm not required to file income tax return. According to me, filing income tax return is more easy than disclosing your all income and chapter 6 deduction to a particular bank and get exemption from the tax return filing. Ease of doing. So now your income tax returns will be automatically filled up. People who are having salary income, interest income, capital gain, government have all the data, they will fill your income tax return. Now, there is no way you can escape any your income. As I already informed that there is no change in income tax rate. So this table provide you an overview of the income tax table. You can have a look on that. Now I will come to the indirect tax proposals. Input tax credit you can claim only when you can see your input credit in GSTR 2A. If the entry is not appearing in GSTR 2A, you cannot claim input tax credit. So it means that whatever earlier 110% or 105% relaxation was there, that is no more there. GST audit and annual return is no more mandatory. And now based on self-certification, now you can, based on self-certification, now you can file your GST annual return for the year. Still, there is a confusion for March 20, whether GST NIC is applicable or not applicable, whose due date is on February 28, 2021, which is just after some 25 days. It's better government provide necessary clarification at the earliest in this regard. There are some customs exemptions which are carrying from number of years, and accordingly all STPI, AOU, SEZ are taking exemptions from this notification. The government has put an automatic sunset clause of all these duty exemptions by March 31st, 2023. So it means all SEZ AOU must take this in cognizance and accordingly plan their import of goods. Zero dated supply. So when anyone supplying to an SEZ, he don't charge that considered as a deemed export, and they don't charge GST on that. But now we have to take something called what you call clearance from them, or what you call that it is only used for authorized purpose only. There are few Companies Act amendment also proposed, which are that Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008 to be decriminalized. So earlier only companies were decriminalized. Now they have bring LLP. So this is a very welcome move. Also, the definition of small companies they have changed it. So now due to this change in definition, the number of small companies will be increased, and this will help the small companies as the compliance in the small companies are much lesser as compared to other companies. They can have lesser board meetings, they can have lesser authorized capital. So the number of benefits are there which you will find for small companies, and removing restrictions as one-person company relating to paid up capital and turnover. So now government is saying that if some non-citizen want to be open a one-person company, he can do that, which was earlier not possible. With this small summary, where I have tried to cover all important points which will impact your routine, day-to-day business activities. I also once again everyone to request subscribe to my YouTube channel Tax Acharya to view our videos on tax updates. And I need your feedback, or if you have any kind of questions, please send me a WhatsApp message at 90089444082 with your name and email ID. Thank you. Jai Hind.